Welcome to this presentation on organizational tools that you can use to create a strong and integrated paper. First of all, we're going to look at how you might actually use an assignment question itself to guide the overall structure of your paper. Before you start to write, it's really important to understand what type of a paper you're being asked to write. The language of the question, particularly the directive or task words, can suggest an appropriate structure to follow. The task words are often the verbs in your assignment question, including words like analyze, compare, evaluate, illustrate, and summarize. Often assignments have more than one part. Here's an example. The most logical way to approach a multi-part assignment is to address each part of the task in the order that it's stated on the assignment task sheet. And in this case, the first sentence of each section of your paper should be a direct response to each part of the assignment. In this case, the first thing that you're being asked to do is explain what you think the statement means. And in this case, your first sentence of this section of your paper might start something like this. Politicians basing their decisions on what will please voters, not what is best for the country, means. Secondly, you're being asked to describe a specific situation in which a politician might make an unpopular decision for the good of the country. And thirdly, you're being asked to discuss the principles that you think should determine whether political decisions should be made to please the voters or to serve the nation. By breaking down the assignment question in this way, you can kind of see that you're being asked to respond to three main questions. This might make you decide to create a three-part paper with an introduction to start it and a conclusion to follow. Within each of these main sections, you may have a number of different paragraphs. To summarize, firstly, identify the assignment task words. Look for any limiting information, words like specific, or in this case, principles. And if you want to work around the assignment question and make it more clear, feel free to rewrite it in your own words. Now let's look at the structure of individual paragraphs. You can see in this picture we've got a couple of ploughing horses pulling a farmer. It's kind of a good analogy for thinking about paragraphs. If you think about the horses being the paragraphs and the farmer in this case being your reader. You're using the strength of your paragraphs to pull your reader through your argument. Paragraphs in this case are kind of like the workhorses of your paper. If you learn to wield them correctly, it can give you a lot of power as a writer and allow you to communicate your ideas clearly to your reader, which is of course the goal of any piece of writing. The basic rule is to keep one idea to one paragraph. So in this case you may have one paragraph that consists of one central idea and several pieces of supporting evidence, or perhaps a number of different connected points that all relate to the overarching idea of the paragraph. You would choose to start a new paragraph to begin a new idea or a point within a larger idea, to set up a contrast or create a logical break in long or complex material. A really good acronym to bear in mind when thinking about writing paragraphs is PEAS. The P is point, the topic of your sentence, often suggested by your topic sentence or controlling sentence, which indicates what the idea of the paragraph is going to be. E is for evidence. This is where you'd include your statistics, your quotations, your paraphrasing, your details from other sources. A is for analysis. This is where you explain the evidence, explain to your reader how it supports your main point. And significance, the so what portion. How does this point build upon previous argumentative points, and how does it help support your paper's overall thesis? In this example, you can see that we've highlighted in different colors the different sections of this paragraph. The first sentence in red is a topic sentence. This is the main idea of this paragraph, the controlling sentence of this paragraph, and you can see that it kind of appears in two parts. The first part talking about Antonio's hatred of Shylock, the second part talking about Shylock's hatred of Antonio. The sentences in green are those main points more clearly outlined. The sentences in purple provide evidence that support those particular points. The sentences in orange are a further analysis of that evidence. And the final sentence in blue is the concluding sentence of this paragraph that draws it all together. In this sense, you can also think about individual paragraphs being a bit like a mini essay, with a thesis, supporting evidence, and a conclusion. Transitions are a great way of making clear connections between different paragraphs, or even connections between sentences within a paragraph. You can think of them as bridges that allow your reader to cross from one idea to another. The goal of a transition is to clarify for your readers exactly how your ideas are connected. And they're usually created either by using words or phrases or connecting ideas. Some ideas of transitional words and phrases include things like in addition, furthermore, however, consequently, on the other hand, or on the one hand and on the other hand, likewise and similarly. In the case of transitions between paragraphs, here's an example that shows 3 different paragraphs with 3 different topics and how you might make the transitions between them. So you need to connect these 3 topics somehow. The first and the second ideas can be connected quite logically like this. Your first paragraph you've spent talking about how nuclear fusion produces enough energy to power the sun. In your second paragraph, you want to talk about how you can use the same process here on Earth. This kind of sentence would be an ideal topic sentence for your second paragraph. It references back to the idea in the first paragraph, but shows very clearly what the idea of the second paragraph is all about. And we can connect the second and third paragraphs in a similar way. Again, a good transition word here is although. Again, this is a potential topic sentence for the start of your third paragraph, because it's referencing back to the idea of the second paragraph and showing how you're making that bridge between the idea in the second paragraph and the idea in the third paragraph. And finally, reverse outlining. Reverse outlining is a great tool. It's the idea of creating an outline after you've written a first draft, rather than before. It doesn't preclude you from starting your writing process with a rough outline, but it's a great way, once you have a first draft of writing, to check that everything still makes sense, that everything's logically ordered, that you've included all the points that you mean to include and they're in the right place. In order to create a reverse outline, you start by examining each paragraph of your draft. In the margin, you'd note down the main ideas that you can identify in each of your paragraphs. Transfer these ideas in the order they appear in your marginal notes onto a separate piece of paper, and there you have a reverse outline. It's a distilled version of your essay and can be used to more easily examine the structure of your argument. Based on this reverse outline, there are a few things that you can ask yourself. Does it seem like my paragraphs are properly focused? Do I perhaps have more than one idea per paragraph? If so, where might I move that extra idea or those extra ideas? Should they be moved to a more relevant paragraph? Maybe they should be deleted. Are you missing any information that you have actually been asked to include? Does the organisation of your paper actually reflect what you promised to argue in your introduction, in your thesis? Does it seem logical? Is there any important information buried later in the essay that should occur earlier? And finally, if you want to watch an informative video about reverse outlining, there's a great one produced by the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. You can copy and paste this link. If you want to come to the Student Learning Centre to talk more about some of the issues in this presentation, or to learn more tools and strategies to help you in your writing, please do. You can book an appointment online, or you can email us.